Hi students, today's topic is about the user interface design, which is a more interesting one because the user interface design, it usually focuses on three areas of concern to say. That is the design of the interfaces between software components and design of interfaces between software and other non-human producers and consumers of the information, and design of interface between a human and a computer, right? Now, if you see, those are mentioned here. So UI design focuses on how users interact with the system, ensuring the software is easy to learn, efficient to use, and aesthetically pleasing. So the UI will decide many factors of a particular website, right? So now three main areas of interface design areas. First one is software to software, the interfaces between software components, software to system, that is interfaces with other systems or hardware, then human computer interface, that is the interface the user sees and uses, that is main focus in UI design because this is something which is more important than all the other, right? The human computer interaction. Then we talk about the golden rules of user interface design. Okay, so what are golden rules of user interface design? So those are mentioned here already. First one is to place the user in control. Second is to reduce the user's memory load. Third is to make the interface consistent. So there are a lot of things which we have to discuss under each concept of this. First one is to place the user in control. Okay, what does this mean? Okay, there are a couple of rules as per our Pressman's textbook where first one is like define the interaction modes in a way that does not force a user into unnecessary or undesired actions. It means we should avoid. Okay, let me write all those points here. So for this, I'll start here. It says define interaction modes in a way that does not force a user into unnecessary or undesired actions. So the user shall be able to enter and exit in a no mode with little or no effort, which means we should avoid forcing the user into unwanted actions. That is what the point is specifying. So likewise, you have a couple of points. Okay, there are total 6 points. So I'll just read out them and I'll just make you a summarized or brief line of thing. So second point says, which provide for flexible interaction. That means the user shall be able to perform the action via keyboard commands, mouse movement, or voice recognition. Okay. So here we are allowing, yes, you have to allow flexible input methods for the end user. What are the flexible moments? That is as keyboard, mouse, voice, right? Next, third point says allow user interaction to be uninterruptible and undoable. That is, the user shall be able to easily interrupt a sequence of actions to do something else without losing the work done so far. So users can also undo any action, right? So which means we should enable actions to be interrupted or undone, right? Then the next one says streamline the interaction as skill levels advance and allow the interactions to be customized, which means we have to support customization and shortcuts. So support customization and shortcuts. Okay. The next point says design for direct interaction with objects that appear on the screen. That is, user can manipulate objects on the screen in a manner similar to what would occur if the object were a physical thing. Okay, that is example if he has to press a button. Okay, that's why we have to provide direct manipulation of on-screen elements. Okay, this is the fifth point. Sixth point says we have to hide the technical internals from casual user because user shall not be required to directly use the operating system file management or networking, something like that, right? So we need to hide hide the technical details. Okay, then we go with the second point, that is reduce users memory load. So reduce users memory load is, so as per the Pressman, so we have the principles under these golden rules of user interface design. Second one speaks about reducing the users memory load. Okay, reducing the user memory load is, so First point is reduce demand on short-term memory. That is, the interface shall reduce the user's requirement to remember past actions and results by providing visual cues of such actions. Okay, which means we have to minimize. Let me write here. So we have to minimize need to remember commands or actions. Second point says establish meaningful defaults, which means the system shall provide the user with default values that make sense to the average user, but allow the user to change these defaults. So the user will also be easily able to reset any value to its original or default value. That is what this point is saying. Okay, which means we should use meaningful defaults. Okay, we should use meaningful defaults. Okay. The third point says define shortcuts that are intuitive. Intuitive means natural. Okay. So we should use or we should provide the users with what? Shortcuts. That is intuitive shortcuts. Okay. Then the user shall be provided with the mnemonics, that is control or alt combinations that tie easily to the action in a way that is easy to remember, uh, such as the first letter or something. Okay. So then the fourth point says that the visual layout of the interface should be based on a real world metaphor. Metaphor, that is appearance. The screen layout of UI shall contain well understood visual cues that the user can relate to real world actions. Okay. So the fourth point is saying to use the real world metaphors, your folders or trash bin or something. The last point is disclose information in a progressive fashion. So when interacting with a task, an object or some behavior, the interface shall be organized hierarchically by moving the user progressively in a stepwise fashion from an abstract concept to a concrete action. So show the last point says, fifth point, show information progressively, right? From what? Abstract to specific. So these are all the 5 rules that are under reduce the user's memory load. Next, we talk about memory, make the interface consistent. Okay. So there are 3 principles which are mentioned here. So before we enter into the third one, make the interface consistent. So the reducing the user's memory load. So there is a point to be noted here because the more a user has to remember, the more error prone interaction with the system will be. Okay, let me write this point. The more a user has to remember, the more error prone interaction with the system will be. Okay. Right. Then third is make the interface consistent. So first point says that allow the user to put current task into a meaningful context. So the interface shall provide indicators that enable users to know context of work at hand. The user can determine where he has come from and what alternatives exist for transition to a new task. Right. So in simple words, it's saying that so keep the context clear. That is your window titles or task indicators. Okay. Then second point is maintain consistency across a family of applications. A set of applications performing complementary functionality shall all implement same design rules so that consistency is maintained for all interactions. In short, to maintain design consistency, across all the related applications. That's what the point is speaking. The third point is if past interactive models have created user expectations, do not make changes unless there is a compelling reason to do so. So once a particular interactive sequence has become a de facto standard or the actual standard, the application continues this expectation in every part of its functionality. Right? So that is what this point is specifying. So we have to avoid avoid breaking the established user expectation unless necessary, right? So that is what the make the interface consistent point speaks about these three things. Then interface analysis. So interface analysis is the key elements are first one is user analysis. Okay. So user analysis. Second one is task analysis. Third is display the content analysis. Fourth one is work environment analysis. What are all these things? Okay. So we just try to understand this. So basically, the interface analysis is performed using these particular things. First one, it's saying user analysis. So we have to understand who the users are. Okay. The skills of the user or the education, the language or the age. Okay. See, we are talking about the user interface. All right. So in this, these are the these are the crucial things which we have to understand. Okay. So now we are talking about the analysis of interface. Okay. So in user analysis, so we should understand so who the users are, like their skills, education, age, or language, etc. Right? So, and how and when they use the system also should be understood, and what motivates or frustrates them. Right? So, these things should be analyzed. That is user analysis. Next, under task analysis, so what work users perform in what order? This is also important, right? And the task, subtask, workflow, objects manipulated, all those things. Next, display content analysis. That means, so there are some questions to ask, like are screen layouts consistent, or can users customize the layout, or large reports readable, and how are the colors or warnings or errors being presented, and all those things. These are all the display content analysis which we can make. Next is work environment analysis. So consider the hardware, lighting, desk space, usage direction, usage duration, etc. All those things. Right? This is work environment analysis. Then interface design principles. Okay. So interface design principles, we have the design patterns and design issues. Okay. We'll try to discuss both things now. So under this first design patterns, the used for consistent, we have page layouts, forms, menus, navigation, e-commerce elements. So when I say page layout, let us say our college website where it, in every page you find the same header and footer, right? That's what. So is the best example. Okay. So every page in our college website will have same header and footer. So coming to forms, let me mention. So have examples have same header and footer for the web page. For all the pages. Okay. Every page. Then next is forms. So let us say there's a login form in the website. So the login form in our college portal where we try to enter the username and password. So those are this. And the next menus. So the menu, what we see when you click the hamburger menu in the mobile application, right? We see a lot of times. Then navigation, where navigation is like, let us say we have in the college website there is some unit one notes is uploaded. We go to home, then some class notes. In that we click on unit one. All these would be in our online class portal. Then e-commerce, navigation, e-commerce elements where the product cards on Amazon or Flipkart, which shows the image, name, price, add to cart button, and all those things. Okay, these are under design patterns. Design issues we'll see now. So first one is response time. Second one is help and support. Third is error handling. Next is menu command labeling. Next is accessibility. Next is internationalization. So let's try to understand these by example. For example, the response time can be mentioned as when you just click on some submit assignment and it loads quickly or something. Okay. Help and support is the help or some FAQ button which we have in our exam portals or something, right? Then error handling is where if we enter the wrong password, we see incorrect password and try again and all those things. So menu or command labeling is, so instead of just submit, the button says submit answer sheet or something like that. So to make it very clear for the end user. Then it's accessibility. So where you can increase the font size in an application for easy reading. Then internationalization is, let us say there is an application like YouTube, which will allow you to change the language, right? So if you don't understand one, you can switch to another language. So, okay, that is what internationalization is, multi-language support. Thank you, students.